Sean, what's up?
How are you doing, Adrenka viewers?
Cool.
Adrenka, the fourth sitting of the fourth session of the House of Assembly is expected to convene on Thursday, March 12. And as usual, there are a number of questions listed on the order paper for oral responses from the members on the government side. But one question sticks out for this particular discussion, and that is one to be raised by the 3rd District Representative and Chairman of the Opposition Virgin Islands Party, Honorable Julian Fraser. He will be asking of the Premier and Minister of Finance, Dr. Orlando Smith, to indicate his government's position on the what he calls repeated calls from the international community for the BVI and other financial centers to establish a beneficial ownership of companies register. Now, this has been a hot topic pretty much in that sphere for the last couple of months. You may recall in February we heard the opposition member in the UK Parliament and leader of the UK Labour Party, Ed Miliband, suggesting that, well, he was really threatening financial services territories, that should he become the next UK Prime Minister, they will have to report to him, pretty much set up this register or be blacklisted. And Fraser is also referring to what Miliband has said. But let's hear Miliband. Let's remind ourselves of what Miliband said in February.
Billions of pounds are being lost in tax avoidance. Today we're serving notice on tax havens linked to Britain that they must open their books within 6 months of a Labour government or face international action. David Cameron has failed on tax avoidance. A Labour government will act so people pay their fair share of tax and everyone in this country plays by the same rules.
What sort of international action could you take there?
There are specific proposals that we're making that if the tax havens linked to Britain don't open their books within 6 months of a Labour government, we will recommend their blacklisting to the international body that is in charge of this. That will send a clear signal out about these tax havens not complying with some basic rules of transparency. And I think the British people have a right to expect this, because unless these tax havens are made to act, then the relevant tax authorities, the HMRC here, can't get at the information to make sure people pay their fair share of tax. Now, 18 months ago, David Cameron promised to act. He said he persuaded these tax havens to act. Not one of them has taken action. I think it's time action was taken. A Labour government is not going to dither, it's not going to delay, it will act within 6 months of coming to power.
And I can tell you mixed reaction coming out of the UK, because there are some people, some legislators in the UK who don't agree with Miliband. Many people in the industry see this as really political meandering and pontificating, really. Some of the overseas territories, in fact, all of them have responded, some directly, others not so directly. We've heard from some leaders saying that their countries are not tax havens, and Miliband should pretty much get his wording correctly. We had a pretty interesting discussion here in the BVI just recently for the BVI Business Conference, and Richard Hay, Richard Hay, who is the private banking and financial regulation practitioner. He says the misperception that financial centers are tax havens should be corrected, and he urged BVI and other financial centers to get the word out and explain how they have achieved their wealth. Let's hear him in this clip before we have further discussions.
It may be vexing that you have to explain and defend your business model, but bear in mind that you have in this island one of the highest per capita incomes in the world, and you wind the clock back 30 years ago with fishing, farming, tourism, etc. It was quite a different story. The world wants to know why you are successful, why you facilitate 4% of FDI in the world. They're curious about this. And in my view, my principal message is it's incumbent on industry to explain to the world.
So he's saying, yes, you should want to explain how you have achieved your wealth.
Oh, why don't they explain how they achieve their wealth?
What do you mean their wealth?
I mean Britain and America and all of those European countries. They need to explain how they got their wealth. But I mean, I'm just annoyed about the whole thing. You could tell, right?
Yes, yes.
But let me calm down.
But you mentioned America, and what is interesting is that France and America are among those countries who are not interested, not in support of the establishment of the register.
Okay.
They have said that categorically.
Well, it could very well be that Miliband, what's his name?
Miliband, yeah.
Miliband is grandstanding in his political posturing, but it's dangerous in any case, and it shows to me his lack of concern for the people of the overseas territories. I mean, okay, so if we have a beneficial ownership register that anyone could just go and see who owns what, then what's the point of having financial services?
Because it really encroaches on people's right to
privacy. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
and a low tax regime doesn't necessarily mean that it's a tax haven.
Yeah, right. It's our laws. We are a low tax destination. We don't pay taxes. I mean, we pay payroll tax, but we don't pay income taxes. So no one pays income taxes. So it's our laws, our regulations. Can we go and tell them what or how they should regulate their industries and what laws they should pass to govern themselves and what's in their best interest? So of course we are a colony, and I think we ought to continually bear in mind the fact that we are a colony, and we need to be pushing forward to I don't know, perhaps rid ourselves of this colonial yoke, because now we are stressing about what they're going to do, considering the fact that 60% of our national budget depends on financial services.
That's
so
right.
It's creating anxiety in the population. His wars is creating anxiety in our population, and I think it's grossly unfair.
I think Miliband is just trying to get elected, and he's willing to say anything, hoping that the UK electorate would rally behind him and hopefully have him replace David Cameron as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Well, what I'm happy about, Sean, is that the overseas territories are uniting.
Yes.
And recognizing what's in their best interest. They're sticking together, and as long as they don't break ranks, it's going to be a difficult feat to accomplish for Great Britain.
But they have made it categorically clear that they are not tax havens. In fact, from Bermuda and other territories, they've said they are quite disappointed to hear that the leader of opposition in the UK is referring to them as tax havens in 2015.
It shows a level of disrespect. They don't care what we say. They don't care what our explanation is. It suits their purpose for them to spread the word tax haven in their country, to rally public support around them in their quest for power. So they don't care about how that hurts us. So they don't care about the anxiety that causes us. They don't care about what we call ourselves. They feel that they have the power, they have the superiority, and they have the superiority complex to speak about us in any terms that they want to speak about us in, and we have no power to do anything about it. And we need to start looking at these kinds of occurrences and start planning a strategy as a people as to how we are going to navigate these types of global situations that's developing at such a rapid rate.
Well, the Premier has responded, and very quickly, I don't know what he's going to say on Thursday in response to this question by the opposition member for the 3rd District. But he has responded previously to a similar question in the House, and also to media questions at a one-on-one press conference held recently. And basically he's saying that the BVI is a well-regulated jurisdiction. Let's hear him in his response at that media press conference held recently.
What I could say is this, that the BVI has always been one of the best regulated jurisdictions in financial services. That's historic, right? And the BVI continues to review its legislation and regulations regularly to make sure that we stay up to date with our keep our reputation intact. We also constantly reviewing as laws or regulations, so that we will continue to meet international standards. The international standards on some of the financial services matters has to do with what we call the FATF standards. Those are the international standards. We have always met those standards. We continue to make sure that our jurisdiction has the regulation that will permit us, allow us to meet those standards.
Yeah, so again, well regulated, as the Premier is saying.
Well, I understand, and of course, we know our jurisdiction is well regulated. We know our financial services is a model that most persons or most other financial jurisdictions in the region try to emulate. But you know, what is I feel like a little boy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know how you feel. I don't know how people feel.
That's pretty much the big stick approach.
Yeah, I feel like a little boy in that you know, I got to keep appeasing, cajoling, begging and pleading with this man to just give me a break, you know, to let my people survive, please. You know, it's like I thought the plantation era was past, but apparently it has not. You know,
many people in the industry believe as well that these so-called developed countries are worried that they are losing much of their wealth to these developing countries, and they will do anything to bring the wealth back home, pretty much. And we know that when we see, for example, the UK having adverse, or at least not on the same page with the US, then there is some underlying factors there that we will see as time progresses.
Well, of course they can't tax their own people, so they have to try to beat us with a stick and take the crumbs that we get.
And you know, the BVI Finance has been rebranded just recently. A rebranding ceremony, pretty much an official rebranding took place, and now there's this effort to reposition the territory's financial services sector. So I think Miliband will have his work cut out for him, even or should he become the UK Prime Minister, which may not necessarily be something that the British electorate are looking at this time. But I don't know. I'm not in the UK, so I don't know who they will vote for Prime Minister.
We got to go, Sean. I've certainly expressed my views in no uncertain terms. Yeah. But I'm tired of it, really. I'm tired of them and their media and all the nonsense they keep pushing on us and all the maneuvering that we have to continue to do. And they don't do it. I don't have them doing it to Switzerland, but Delaware, Delaware in the United States is perhaps the biggest financial services sector in the world. You don't hear them talking about Europe and the United States with this nonsense. But of course, you know, we still children in our mother's house. So what can we do?